Out of YouTube. So a few Sundays ago, I was driving the Blazer here to work. Fuel pump went out of it at our yard. So I ordered a fuel pump, and the following Sunday, well, I got that Thursday, and the following Friday and Saturday, Friday night in the dark and Saturday morning rushed, I slapped the fuel pump in this thing in the middle of our yard. So I didn't video anything, but I just wanted to go over overview of how to change the fuel pump out on this thing. It's pretty simple, I think. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so the fuel tank is on the driver's side. You can see it inside the frame rail. It's a plastic tank, 2 straps. Okay, 1, 2. There's you need a 15mm wrench and socket to take the straps off. So what I did was I jacked the Blazer up on the driver's side, got it up about 8 inches, 10 inches with my ramps on the driver's side, pulled the spare tire out, then I shoved the floor jack underneath the tank, crawled up in there, loosened the 2 bolts. Okay, one broke, I had to cut it. It's the back one. You can buy, it's either a Dorman or a Help part number at the part store that you can get the clips with the nuts and the bolt for that. It's like $10. I did that. Front one came off okay. Anti-seize, especially if you're in a rust belt, use it when you put it back together. But anyway, I loosened the 2 straps off. That drops the tank some. With the spare tire out in the back, you can crawl yourself up in there, and behind this flap there is the probably like right around here, there is your fuel pump, which I think I have in the back here. I do. The old fuel pump. So on the pump itself, there is 3 connections, 3 lines, 2 electrical connections. Okay, those just come unplugged easily. On these, the type of connector is similar, if not exactly the same. There's 2, one here and one here, that are like the ones on the fuel pump. I mean, a fuel filter on the frame rail. So if you need to see what those look like, you can crawl underneath, look at the fuel filter. And the one in the center is similar to the ones on the charcoal box for the evap system, which on this 4-door Blazer is mounted right behind that. So there they are, those kind of connections. And there's 2 more of those for evap lines on the tank, sitting right about here. There's a big one and a small one on the side. Then up at the front of the tank, there's a little rubber line that I couldn't get off. I just snipped it about a 1/2 inch from where it ended. So just before, it was long enough that I could just cut the end off, get the tank out, cut it off the barb, and then just shove it back on when I put the tank back in. It's a vent line, I'm told. So once that's disconnected, you can drop the tank all the way out. And I slid it out the rear, underneath the axle, and out the back of the vehicle. So on your fuel pump, there is that was making noise. So there's a gasket. That's what sits down in your tank. Makes the seal. This little tang lines up with a notch in the tank, which you'll see. But there's a snap ring, not a snap ring, but a locking ring that goes over top of this. Okay? So there's a little plastic tab. You can start hitting it with a chisel and a hammer to spin it. And then you can push that tab in and keep knocking it loose, and it'll bust loose. You slide it out, pull the pump out, put your new gasket on your new pump, put your new level arm, float arm on your new pump. Do not press in on the contacts. It said in the instructions, because it could screw that up. And yeah. And you just lay your pump back. Well, you clean your tank out. I ran it dry. So honestly, I don't know if I just ran the engine dry or ran the engine dry and the pump failed, or the pump failed and it just so happened to be dry. But it's been needing a pump bad because the fuel gauge was all screwed up. And honestly, it runs much better. So I don't have a fuel pressure gauge set, or else I would have checked the fuel pressure. But I'm thinking it was low. So it needed a pump. So it just, timing worked out. It was bone dry. There was maybe a half gallon left in there. But I dumped that out in an environmentally safe manner on the ground. And just wiped it out with a paper towel. Put my pump back in. Slid the locking ring on. And locked her down. And then shoved her back in. I forgot to mention there is a filler neck hose on the tank also. It'll be probably about here in reference to the pump where my hand is. That was the, I'm going to say that was the hardest line to get off. I think. I don't know why that one. I don't know. But once that's done, you can slide the tank back in. Lift it up, put it on a jack, lift it back up some. Okay, so slide it back in like from the rear, put it on a jack, lift it up. And then what I did was I lifted it up all the way with the floor jack. Then I put my straps back in the frame, bolted it up loosely. And then I made all my connections in the back and in the front. There's just one vent line. Then all the connections in the back, and you can shove it back up in there, and you're good to go. Fill it up with gas and hit the road once everything's tightened down. My gas gauge was all over the place, and it had gotten really bad here the last few weeks before the pump failed. But the fuel pump is, the gauge works perfectly now. It got more power, so I do believe that the fuel pressure was an issue. It's running better, smoother, quieter. The pump's quieter. The only thing is that this here connector, it's 4 flat. Apparently the OEM fuel pumps were a 4 square, so it was a square connector with 2 on the bottom, 2 on top. So they don't make those anymore. You have to get the 4 flat. And they send you a pigtail to splice in to the wiring harness. Mine was already had a 4 flat, but someone used wire nuts. Honestly, it was the greatest form of butchery that I've ever seen. They stripped the wires back, twisted them together, soldered them, put a wire nut on it, electrical taped every wire nut, then tied them up nicely to the wiring harness and taped the whole thing up. So I took it all apart and fixed it properly, and I'll put pictures in. But yeah, so that was the only thing you have to do. Besides that, it's pretty easy. I just used stuff for wiring. So the pair of wiring pliers from Channel Lock. Pair of wire strippers from Irwin. I used a couple screwdrivers and a ratchet, a extension, and a 15mm wrench and socket, deep socket. The only other note is I used to fill this funnel here. This funnel, it's a Flow Tool 10712. I got a Tractor Supply because I didn't bring a funnel with me, and I wasn't running all the way home when Tractor Supply was 3 minutes down the street. It's actually the best fuel funnel I've found to put fuel in these things. Fits the angle of the dangle just perfectly. But that's about it. It's pretty simple. If you're not doing it in the middle of a gravel lot, in the cold, with tools out of the back of your other vehicle, you should get it done pretty quicker than I did, but still it wasn't bad. Yeah, so definitely something I think you can do yourself. Everyone cuts a hole, takes the back seat out and cuts a hole in the floor. I honestly don't understand that. I'm not going to say I didn't think about it, but then I was like, why? Just why? And then, honestly, after I did it, I mean, this went way smoother than everyone makes it out to be. So, I don't know, and I'm in southwestern Pennsylvania, so I did have, you know, I'm not unfamiliar with dealing with rusty parts, so for that all being considered, it went very well, and I don't see why you can't do it yourself. Save you some money. Pumps now. I got a Delphi pump. I found the part number on Rock Auto and other, let's see, Advance, O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly had it. And AutoZone, they had it, but it was well over $300 on some of the sites. Some were like $289. Well, Rock Auto has it for $189, and Amazon had it for $199. I got it on Amazon. Yeah, it's an updated pump. It's got 2 supports, an internal screen instead of the external screen. I don't know. So far it's running really well. So I'd splurge and get the Delphi pump, not a parts store pump or a $30 pump, which they do make, like $30, $40, $50 pumps. I would not get those. But yeah, so that's on replacing the fuel pump on your 04 Blazer and similar. Sorry I didn't get a video doing it, but it was dark, I was cold and impatient, so this is as good as it's going to get for this one. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more. You can find me on social media, both Facebook and Instagram. K30 Crazy. I'm going to put some pictures of the wiring harness that I fixed in the video, but they're already on Instagram as we speak, so go check them out. Alrighty, so as I end all my videos, stay crazy and have a good one, people.